Hi, Keywords parents and children. My name is Donna. My son Connor is in year 3, and I am a member of Keywords Friends. We put on your winter and summer fairs, and we are currently celebrating Black History Month. At the beginning of this week, we had a lot of really cool, informative posters about the likes of Mo Farah and Nicola Adams, the boxer, John Boyega, Finn from Star Wars. Love me a bit of Star Wars. Maggie Adair Pocock, space scientist. Mallory Blackman, the author. Oswald Boateng, fashion designer. Loads of different people for the kids to have a look at and learn about. Also, you will have noticed I have been posting about the likes of Lillian Bader, Walter Tull, Frank Bailey, John Kent over here on Class List. And in the following weeks, we're going to be talking about Windrush. We'll have a bit on the Notting Hill Carnival, the Brixton bus riots, African civilizations, and the history of Afro hair. So, lots going on here on Class List. And if you've liked what you've seen, please do encourage other keyword parents to sign up, because regardless of keyword friends, it is just a really good way to communicate and stay in touch, or if you ever need help, somebody on here might be able to help you. So anyway, I have been doing week 1, which is Science and Emergency Week. And the last person I'm going to feature is just amazing. Yeah, I can't believe it's taken this long for people to realize how cool she was and the amazing things that she did. The reason that I'm talking to you about her is because there's so much information that I wanted to tell you, that it wouldn't all fit on one of my small posts that you've been seeing. So I thought I'd talk about it. The reason I'm not posting a professional YouTube video is because I couldn't find one that said everything that I wanted to say. So I thought I'd do my own. So here I am. Fingers crossed it all goes well. This is my 5,000th take. But without any further ado, here she is. Da, 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 da. Mary Seacole, nurse, traveller and businesswoman. Mary was born in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica, in 1805. Her dad was a Scottish soldier who was based in Jamaica when it was still a British colony, and her mum was a Jamaican nurse and healer. When Mary was young, she used to help her mum in her mum's boarding house that looked after injured soldiers. That's where she learned traditional Jamaican remedies and treatments, and she also learned from the injured doctors staying in the boarding house. Mary also loved to travel. When she was in her teens, she actually visited England twice, which was very rare in those days, especially for a woman. But she did that. She also travelled to the Bahamas, to Cuba and to Haiti, where she would buy spices and pickles and jams, and she'd bring them back to Jamaica to sell. See, clever lady. Mary married Edwin Seacole, who was an English naval officer. They ran a shop together, but Edwin was a very sick man, and unfortunately their marriage only lasted 8 years as he passed away. But through all this, through all her businesses and caring for Edwin, Mary kept up her work in medicine and caring for others. And when cholera broke out in Jamaica, she was there. She was there to help. Later in life, Mary moved down to Panama, where her brother had a hotel, and she opened her own hotel, which sold supplies to people traveling up to America during the gold rush. She also nursed sick people there. Yellow fever and cholera also broke out in Panama, and Mary was there once again to help save the day. In 1853, when the war broke out in Crimea, the British soldiers were called up to go and fight. And of course, Mary being Mary, she wanted to go and help. So off she went to London to sign up with Florence Nightingale's team of nurses. But unfortunately, Mary was refused. Now, in her book, Mary does say that she feels it could have been down to the colour of her skin, which is absolutely ridiculous because the colour of your skin has no bearing on what you can and can't do. So Mary, being the determined woman that she was, she thought, oh, I'm just going to go anyway, and I'm going to do it off my own back. So she did. Her and her cousin, Thomas Day, they loaded up a boat of medical supplies and they travelled to Crimea, which was a long old trip, as you can imagine. There's Jamaica, and they travelled all the way across Europe to Crimea, which was part of Russia at the time. It's now Ukraine. When they got there, the scenes they met were horrific. Soldiers were dying from injuries, but they were also dying from sickness, the cold, hunger. So Mary decided something had to be done. She and Thomas built a hotel very close to the battle lines, and they called it the British Hotel. It was a hospital cum hotel. So Mary would sell warm blankets, clothes and food to the soldiers, and the money that she raised from these would be to keep her medical supplies going. And she would obviously care for the soldiers. But she went one step further. She wasn't just a nurse that hung out in the hospital waiting for the injured to come in. Mary would ride into battle, and she would tend the sick, the injured and the dying on the battlefield, with guns blazing around her and people attacking left, right and centre. She didn't care. And she didn't care if you're British or Russian. She would help you regardless. What an amazing woman. The soldiers came to know her as Mother Seacole. She saw them as her sons. So when the war ended, Mary returned to London. She wasn't in great health herself, but also she was broke. She spent all of her money using it to look after other people. And the soldiers in Crimea didn't forget this. They wrote to various people, to governments, and they arranged a concert for Mary. A concert that 80,000 people attended. 80,000 people, that's 5,000 more than what Old Trafford holds, or the same amount of people that the Olympic Stadium holds. So yeah, you can imagine, it was some crowd. So yeah, they raised loads of money to help look after Mary in her later years. The reason we know so much about Mary is because she wrote a book, and it was called The Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands. And you can still buy it today to have a read. Not only did she write a book, but she was also one of the first Black women to have a travel book published. So, you know, more awesomeness. But yeah, that's pretty much, well, it's a condensed version of Mary's life, I guess. But I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to have a read because she sounds like a really interesting woman. She's buried in London in Kensal Green. You can go and visit the grave. Or you can go up to St. Thomas's Hospital and have a look at this really awesome, inspiring statue of her that's been erected there. So yeah, that's my little presentation about Mary Seacole. I hope you liked it, and yeah, like I said earlier, if you do like what you see over here on ClassList, please do encourage other parents to sign up. It can't do any harm. It's a free app, and yeah, who knows what you'll learn.